the Imperial Hotel on Walnut Street in downtown Kansas City, and a very real disaster, the flood of July 1993, when the Missouri River spilled over its banks and devoured entire neighborhoods. I was there as an insurance adjuster, notebook in hand, a week after the rain stopped, and I saw things in room 305 that still keep me up at night. The Imperial was an old grand dame of a building, opened in 1926 when jazz spilled out of speakeasies and Union Station ferried soldiers home. By the early 90s, she'd seen better days. Developers were arguing about whether to gut her or restore her. Then the river rose. On July 12th, levees failed north of the city. Water poured into the west bottoms and kept on creeping. The city lost power. People evacuated by boat. The Imperial's first floor took on 3 feet of muddy water. Guests on the upper floors were told to stay put. Elevators shut down. That night, a pipe burst behind the third. Floor laundry room, hallways flooded. Firefighters waded through chest, deep water in pitch darkness, banging on doors, evacuating people down stairwells. Everyone made it out, except for the occupant of room 305. When I got the call to assess the damage, I expected to photograph warped drywall and list destroyed furniture. The manager, an older man named Curtis, handed me a ring of keys and refused to go up with me. "You'll see why," he muttered. The stairwell still smelled of river silt and bleach. On the third floor, the carpet squished under my boots. Most rooms stood open, damp mattresses leaning against walls. Gideon Bibles, swollen with water. Only one door was shut, 305. The brass number hung askew. I fit the key in the lock, turned and felt a pressure change, like opening a sealed jar. Inside, the air was cold and oddly still. The first thing I noticed were the marks on the wallpaper, dark streaks at waist height running all around the room, like someone had dragged wet fingers along the walls in a circle. The bedspread lay on the floor, sodden. A floral suitcase sat open on a chair, clothes neatly folded inside. An old-fashioned Polaroid camera rested on the dresser next to a half-empty glass of bourbon. It looked as if someone had stepped out for a cigarette and never returned, but the room hummed with tension. It felt occupied. I made notes, snapped photos. As I approached the window, I heard what I thought was water running. I looked up. At the far end of the room, near the bathroom, there was a closet door I'd missed before. Narrow, painted the same color as the wall. It was slightly ajar. Water pooled at its base, seeping across the floor. I felt my pulse in my throat. I wasn't a believer in the paranormal, but something told me I wasn't alone. The police report later filled in the official details. The guest registered in room 305 was a woman named Louise Graham, 41, traveling alone from Des Moines for a business seminar. She checked in on July 10th. When the evacuation came 2 days later, firefighters reached the third floor and found her door locked from the inside. They called out. There was no response. Floodwater was waist, deep and rising. They moved on, thinking the room was empty. When they returned after the flood, they found what I found: the suitcase, the camera, the bourbon, but no Louise. They searched every stairwell, duct, and service corridor. Her car was still in the parking garage. Her family filed a missing person report. Her wallet sat on the bedside table. She vanished. Back in room 305, I kneeled and pressed my ear to that narrow door. The running, water sound grew louder. I could have sworn I heard something else, too. Faint splashing, like someone treading water in a pool. My hand shook as I reached for the knob. It resisted. I twisted harder. The door opened an inch. Cold, black water flowed out, soaking my sleeve. I dropped the knob and staggered back. In the instant before the water clouded the floor, I saw something that to this day I can't rationalize. A pale hand pressing up from beneath the surface, fingers splayed, as if someone were trapped in a pocket of water on the other side of the door. And then it was gone. The door slammed shut. The room was silent. I left without finishing my inspection. Curtis didn't ask what I'd seen. "They say she's still there," he whispered as I returned his keys. "Late at night, housekeeping hears water sloshing in 305. We don't rent it anymore." The Imperial never reopened. It was demolished in 1994. Developers bulldozed it to make way for a parking lot. I drive past sometimes and glance at the asphalt where room 305 would have been, wondering if anyone else feels that pressure in their chest. That phantom cold. I know Louise Graham has never been found. Her case remains unsolved in Jackson County files.